And then we read in verse 16, and the girl was very beautiful, a virgin, no man had relations with her. She went down to the spring and filled her jar and came up. Now, it must have been obvious to Rebekah that this man standing here is a stranger. She must have been coming to the well every day and she'd never seen this man before. And you know what curiosity is like? To gaze at who is this strange fellow here. And you see there's nothing of that in her. There is a modesty and a reserve in her. She's got nothing to do with him. She just goes up to fill her jar and she goes home. In the appropriate way for a girl. No need to talk unnecessarily to the men standing at the well, the strange man, and to talk to him and say, where are you from? And to say, strike up a conversation. There are things we can learn from there, sisters. The modesty and reserve that is becoming of a girl. It's all right for men to talk like that, but there are ways in which a man can talk in which a girl should never talk. And that's what we see in Rebekah, a modesty and a reserve in not talking to men unnecessarily. Have you got that, sisters? A modesty and a reserve in not talking to men unnecessarily. And then, as she was going off, the servant ran to meet her and said, please, let me drink a little water from you. And she said, drink, my Lord. You see something of the respect with which she speaks to a man. Drink, my Lord. And she quickly lowered her jar to her hand and gave him a drink. A ready hospitality. And when she had finished giving him a drink, she saw the camels and she said exactly what that man had asked for as a sign. I will draw also for your camels until they have finished. And I want you to notice here in verse 20, two words, two phrases. She quickly emptied her jar and ran back to the well to draw. Notice the use of the words quickly, ran back. Here was no lazy girl, one who was quick to do her job, quick to run back to fill the bucket again with water. And she drew for all his camels. No doubt she found it tough, but she didn't go back on her promise. She had promised to feed all the camels, to fill up the trough for all the camels to drink, and she did it. And that's the type of girl that God chose for Isaac, one who was hardworking, one who was quick, and who would run, and who would keep her word and complete the job, even if it was tough. And the man was gazing at her in silence, verse 21. He could have been taken up with her beauty, as it says in verse 16. She was very beautiful, and could have said, oh boy, this is the one. No, he waited to see if she would finish, to see if the sign he had asked for would be complete, whether she would keep her word. No impatience, no being taken up with her good looks. Is the sign which I asked for going to be fulfilled or not? And then when he saw it was, he rejoiced. When the camels had finished drinking, he waited till the camels finished drinking. There was a patience to trust God, that if this is the one, God will make it clear. No half-fulfilled sign, a completely fulfilled sign. The camels had finished drinking, then the man took a gold ring, weighing a half shekel, and 2 bracelets for her wrist, weighing 10 shekels in gold, and said, whose daughter are you? Please tell me, is there room for us to lodge in your father's house? And she said, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor. Out of all the girls there were in Mesopotamia, God leads Abraham's servant to the one. The eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth to show himself strong on behalf of those whose hearts are perfect towards him. He knows how to lead us to the right person. And she said, we have plenty of both straw and feed and room to lodge in, a ready hospitality again. And then notice what the man does, what we often forget to do. He had asked, and when he got the answer, he immediately thinks first, not of the answer, not of the go, but of the Lord who answered his prayer. And he bowed low and worshipped the Lord. And he said, Lord, thank you. Here is a good example for us to follow, that when we ask and we get an answer, that we are to be taken up not with the answer or the person whom God has chosen, a wonderful partner, but the Lord himself.
Verse 27, the God of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his loving kindness and his truth toward my master, as for me, the Lord has guided me in the way to the house of my master's brothers. Then the girl ran and told her mother's household about these things. And Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban. And Laban ran outside to the man at the spring and came about when he saw the ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrists. And when he heard the words of Rebekah, his sister, saying, this is what the man said to me, he went to the man. And behold, the man was standing by the camels of the spring, and he said, come in, blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside, since I have prepared the house and a place for the camels? So the man entered the house. Then Laban unloaded the camels, and he gave straw and feed to the camels, and water to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him. But when food was set before him to eat, he said, I will not eat until I have told my business. You see, there we see that Abraham's servant had a sense of responsibility. No doubt he was hungry after a long journey, but he had such a sense of responsibility to Abraham that he said, I've got to forget about my hunger now. I've come here on a task. And let's forget about food now. I have to, first of all, explain what I have come for. I said in the beginning that this is a picture of, Abraham is a picture, a type of God the Father. His servant is a type of the Holy Spirit. And because he's a type of the Holy Spirit, he's also a type of a Spirit-filled servant of the Lord. That's what you and I can be. Every one of us can be a servant of the Lord, Spirit-filled servant of the Lord. And so Abraham's servant is a picture of the Holy Spirit and of the Holy Spirit's co-workers. And Rebekah is a picture of the bride of Christ, and Isaac is a picture of Christ. This is God the Father sending the Holy Spirit into the world, saying, go and find a bride for my son. And going all over the world looking for those who are willing to give up everything and forsake all and come. Those who are diligent and hardworking and zealous, who are simple, who are found at the well and not the social club. And it's also a picture of a Spirit-filled servant of God who is seeking, not just for believers, not just to save people from hell, no, but seeking for those who will be part of the bride. That is what the Holy Spirit's looking for. And that's what a Spirit-filled servant of God is looking for, wherever he goes. To look for those who have a calling to be in the bride of Christ. And that's why we need prayer. Lord, lead me to those who have a ear to hear the gospel that calls people to be the bride of Christ. That's what we can learn from Abraham's servant. Lead me to that one person. There may be 101 good people here, but lead me to that one person whom you have a calling for to be in the bride of Jesus Christ. And when he's found such a person, he forgets all about his food. Just like Jesus. It says in John 4 and verse 32, when he was in Samaria, speaking to the woman, even though he was so hungry, he told his disciples, I have food to eat, which you don't know anything about. I have found a woman who wants to turn to God. And that is my food. And that was Abraham's attitude, Abraham's servant's attitude. He forgot about food. He says, I've come here on business. Food is not so important to me. But to find this one who will be in the bride, that is more important to me. We can learn a lesson there, brothers and sisters. My own material necessities are not the main thing. If I can find someone who will be in the bride, the Holy Spirit's looking Abraham's servant didn't come to Mesopotamia to make money. He didn't come there just to go sightseeing. No doubt there are wonderful sights there. The old Tower of Babel was somewhere around there. He could have gone to see that. No time for all that. He's come to look for the bride. And that's what the Holy Spirit's looking for, and that's what every Spirit-filled servant of God is always looking for. He's not looking here how to make more money. He's not interested in sightseeing. He's interested in finding people who will be in the bride of Christ. And think of Abraham's servant standing there, and the only thing in his mind is, who will be the bride? The more we are filled with the Spirit, the more our thinking will be like that. Not how can I make more money, but whom can I contact? Is there someone who will be in the bride? Someone here, someone there. And God has got amazing ways to bring us in touch. I mean, we've experienced a little bit of that in the last few years here in India, in Bangalore. How God has brought us in touch with different ones in a wonderful supernatural way. It's the same God who's even today calling out His bride. But He can lead them only to those who are looking for them, not those who are looking for other things. Be one like that, brother and sister. Have a mind like that as you go around wherever you live and whomever you contact, that you can have that mind of Abraham's servant. Is this person have a calling for the bride? Let me see. That is my calling in life. God's placed me here like Abraham's servant to find a bride, to find the rest of the bride of Jesus Christ. Let me look for them. Let me be alert and not go to sleep. Let me not be taken up with eating. Food. Forget about food, he said. My business. I will not eat until I've told my business. Like Jesus said, didn't you know I must be about my Father's business? That was more important to him. And then he said, I'm Abraham's servant. The Lord's greatly blessed my master. And he's got a son now, and my master said, you're not to take a wife from the Canaanites, verse 37. And he tells the whole story. And he said, I told my master, supposing a woman doesn't want to follow me, verse 39. Then he said to me, that the Lord before whom I walked will send His angel with you. That was Abraham's faith there. The Lord will send His angel and your journey will be successful. He had faith, God will make it successful. But if the woman, if they do not give her to you, verse 41, then you are free from my oath. In other words, Rebecca had to be told very clearly the price that she has to pay. You have to leave all this. You have to leave your father's house, mother's house. Forget your relatives now and go to be where your bridegroom is, where God is calling him. He didn't try to hide that. He said, that's the price you have to pay if you want to come along with me. Otherwise, forget it. And I believe that's how we should preach the gospel today as well. That there's a price to follow Jesus, to be in His bride. You've really got to forsake everything. And we must not be afraid or ashamed to present that clearly when we preach the gospel. And equally, a man who is considering marriage should not be afraid of presenting the picture clearly. That this is the way God's called me to go. It's a hard way. People will misunderstand. You want to follow? If you want, all right. If you don't want, then obviously you're not the one God has chosen for me. Finished. Think of the dignity that a man has. As I said, it's rare to find such young men, but I trust there will be more and more in our midst like that, who will take that position, who have the dignity to believe that if they stand up for God, God will give them the best, the one whom He has appointed.